I'm so excited about this interview here. I'm Karen Putz, and with me today is Jordan Adler. And first of all, I'm very thrilled that you are joining today. Second, I think we go back maybe 11 years.
Something like that, at least, yeah.
It's been that long, yeah. And in those 11 years, I've watched Jordan do some amazing things. We're going to talk about them today in this interview. So welcome.
Thank you, Karen. I'm excited to be here with you. It's been a lot. It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. So for some background, Jordan and I both belong to the same network marketing company, and that's how we met. I attended one of his workshops way back when, and there was something about this guy walking on stage with full confidence, and then I realized later what it was: passion.
Mm,
That energy of passion, the thing that I've written books about, the thing that my whole coaching program is based on. And that's why I'm really thrilled today that we get to sit down and talk about my favorite word.
yeah,
Because that
powerful word.
it really is, it really is. Let's start off by telling me what you think passion is. How do you define it?
Well, I don't know if I can give a formal definition, but the way I see passion is it's like, what are you driven to do? Who are you deep down? Not what your family tells you should do, not what society tells you should do, but what are the things that light you up, that you think about all the time? What are the things that you are driven to want to experience or do or become that that turn you on, that make you excited about life? And so it's really following your inner voice towards whatever it is you're meant to do. Like, for example, for from the time I was 6 or 7 years old, I was drawn to picking up a guitar. Like, before I even had seen a guitar in the physical form in person, there was something about that instrument that got me excited about wanting to pursue it. And so for many years, I would play guitar 8, 10, 12 hours a day. I'd come home from school and I'd play till 4 in the morning, sometimes by myself, sometimes with other people. But it was so much of a passion. It drove me to want to do it every minute of every day. There are certain things
Still
like
play?
that. What? Yes,
You
I still
still
play.
play?
Yeah, I do. Not as much as I used to. I've actually replaced that passion with other passions. But for many years, my obsession was music and guitars. For many
I
years.
knew that about you.
No, every time I
Music
go somewhere,
and
I'd have to visit the guitar store, and I was always salivating over the next big thing in guitars, and I always wanted to be around people that played guitars. And so that was a passion. It was something that I can't, I can't decide, define why. Like, you don't really even know why you're drawn to certain things, but you are.
it's in you. I really, first of all, one of the things I have learned is that passion has 5 levels. At the very beginning, it's curiosity. So when
Mm,
you're so young and you picked up that guitar, you're like, "Oh, what can I do with this?"
yeah,
And then you start learning. That's the learning stage. And then the next stage is that excitement stage. Oh, I like music. I like playing this. And then that awareness of this is a passion for me. You start playing it 10, 12, hours a day.
yeah,
The highest level of passion, people recognize you for your passion. That's the
yes,
highest level.
yeah.
And like for you, people recognize you for you are so passionate about helping other people succeed. I've seen that over and
I
over and
I
over
I
again.
am. I love pouring into other people. I love learning things myself and then teaching other people what I've learned that can help them. The other thing is I get on a regular basis, Karen. Today now I have people that will send me videos almost daily. I receive videos of people sharing helicopter videos. And anytime a helicopter goes over, they text me and go, "I just saw a helicopter. Was it you?" But that's other people recognizing me for that, because that's a passion of mine, is flying helicopters. And I do it for fun, not for work. I pay money to do it. I don't get money to do it.
Work with their passion. And you started this at the age of 55. So that's another aspect of passion, is that passion does not have an age limit.
No.
The minute you start recognizing what you're curious about, and you were curious about flying helicopters, and you
Yes.
went for it. Now let's back this up a little bit, because some people don't know your story. And I realize we dove in.
Yeah,
But can you lay the foundation for Beach Money? You have that book with you?
I do.
Pull that up.
Yeah.
This was a very pivotal book for me, because when I read Beach Money, there was a very important part of Beach Money that said you need to taste, see, feel, hear, and experience your dream.
Hmm.
And you need to write it down as if it's already happened. Those
Yes.
were two concepts from your book that I applied in my life. And one of the first things I wanted is I wanted to barefoot water ski with world champions. And I
Yeah.
did that for many years. I mean, all my training is from world barefoot champions. And also, that's one concept that I learned from Beach Money,
Oh, thank you.
is to
Wow.
own your dream and write it down over and over until it becomes your life.
Feel. Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah. So I actually, just a little background, grew up in a lower middle income family in the south suburbs of Chicago. My father saved money his whole life for myself and my two sisters to go to college for 1 year. We were required to graduate from college, but we had to figure out how to pay for the other 3 years. And so I went to the University of Illinois. I couldn't go out of state because we didn't have the money for that. But I wanted to go out of state. I begged my father to let me go to California or Hawaii or somewhere where there was a beach, even though I had no idea what beach money was at that point. But I had a guitar when I graduated college. I was a night clerk and a resident advisor during college, which allowed me to pay for the rest of my college. I didn't take out any loans. I got a degree in landscape architecture, and with a guitar, a suitcase, and $250, I moved to Arizona because there was a lot of building going on. And I knew one person there, an ex-girlfriend that had moved there, only one person in Arizona. And that relationship, that one relationship, literally, it changed the trajectory of my life, because I would not have moved to Arizona. My life has been out west for the most part and traveling the world now. But so I went out west and I started looking at different entrepreneurial things. Although I did have a job, I worked in the job world for 17 years and always dabbling in different network marketing things and entrepreneurial ideas that I had. I was wired as an entrepreneur. It was my passion. I don't know why, because it wasn't in my family. My sisters were not entrepreneurs. My parents were not entrepreneurs. I wasn't around entrepreneurs. We were in a working class neighborhood, but for whatever reason, I was wired as an entrepreneur. And so I decided to look for something that would allow me to have full control over my income and my career. Well, 10 years, 11 different network marketing companies. I never made a penny, never signed up one person. And
why didn't you give up?
well, I didn't, I quit over and over and over again. I gave up over and over and over again. But then I would start back up again because it was my passion. Right. So there was really, it was my destiny to be an entrepreneur. And so although I would get discouraged, I hadn't learned the mindset skills at that point in my life that would allow me to survive this profession. And so I had to learn those over the years. And I learned them by listening to audios, reading books, attending events, hanging around with the right people. And over the course of the next 10 years, 11 different network marketing companies, I never signed anybody up. I ended up maxing out 22 credit cards with $36,000 worth of debt. Yeah.
Remember you.
And my accountant told me I had to either file bankruptcy or figure out a way to make an extra $1,000 a month. And I ended up joining my 12th network marketing company. And that was the first company I made money. I started signing up about one person a month on average. I was told by a top earner in another company that if I would sign up 20 to 30 people, I would be home free personally. So I put my blinders on and I figured out how to make a list and set up an appointment and give a presentation and follow up. And then when things got tough, I needed to make sure that I didn't quit. I needed to stay the course. And so on my 12th company, even though I had a few different things happen in the first year that would have easily justified me quitting, I decided to stick with it. And on my around my 9th or 10th month, I made $180. And then by my 33rd month, I was at about $3,000 a month. And then by my 40th month, so the third year of my 12th company, I broke $30,000 a month. And I was with that company for 13 years. I made $8 million and my life completely changed. I moved out of the enclosed garage that I was paying $200 a month rent. I upgraded my automobile, and then I bought a second automobile, and then I bought a beautiful home in the forest. And then I started traveling the world. So I was able to do things that I could never do on my $20,000 a year income at my airline job. My last job was working for the airlines.
That's an
So,
amazing story.
and then that company that I was with that company for 13 years. It was a 16-year-old company. I was there for 13 years. We owned technology that became obsolete. The entire telecom industry went digital, and we owned hundreds of millions of dollars in analog technology. So the entire company became obsolete, and I went from making $80,000 a month to zero in 3 months. And so I then went in search of another company. It took me 4 months. I was bleeding by about $23,000 a month. Every month, my life was costing me about $23,000. So I had to pare back a little bit. And then I found a new opportunity, which is the one where we met. And I've been building this business for 18 years now.
That's amazing. And how much have you owned over your lifetime? With you?
Over 25 million. And most of it has been, most of it has been in 2 network marketing companies. I've taken some of the money that I've earned and I've leveraged it into other things, but I've also lost money in things too that I've invested in. You know, one of the things that happens when you start making money is you start thinking you're smart, and you're not. You just figured out how to make money one way. You figured out how to make money one way. But when you think you're smart, and so people come to you with all these investment ideas, and you got all this money coming in and everybody knows you're making money because they see your lifestyle has been upgraded. You're living in a nicer place. You're driving nicer cars. You've got more lifestyle freedom. And so they come to you and they've got ideas. And they say, you should invest in this. Let me introduce you to this guy. I've got this idea. And over the course of time,
everybody wants a piece of you, right?
Everybody wants a piece. And you start going, here's 40 grand, here's 150,000, here's 20,000, here's 10,000, thinking that you're gonna turn that into billions. And 99% of the time you lose that money. And I learned that the hard way, to the tune of $4 million. 40 different projects. I lost everything on that. And so when the second time around with this company, I decided no matter what, I'm going to put at least 10% of my income away in something, and I'll never look at it, never touch it, an interest-bearing account. I'm just going to keep putting 10%. If I make $1,000, I put $100. If I make $100, I put $10. If I make $100,000, I put $10,000. And I've been doing that now for the past 18 years. The difference is, the first time around, that $4 million that I lost, that would be worth $20 million if I'd just taken 10% of my income since day one and put it away. So there's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon that teaches this. Yeah. And I read it many years ago, but I didn't apply it. And it's a simple thing.
When did you start applying that book?
Well, I started applying it 18 years ago when I joined this company. I washed my hands of that whole thing. That was my life. I mean, 13 years of my life was building that company with a group of people that became my closest friends. We traveled the world together. And then all of a sudden, one day it was gone. It's like the fall of the Roman Empire. We were there, they wrote books about our company.
And I
And
think the most important lesson of this is that you had the skills within you. Even in the day that all the money went south, you still had the skills that you had before that allowed you to build up your business and you can do it again. And that's the most invaluable thing about learning, is that no one can take those skills away from you. Once they're
right,
inside of you,
that and your network, the
yeah,
people that you build relationships with. And
true.
your network, a percentage of your network will always go with you.
That's true.
And it's not about recruiting people from here to there. It's about building relationships with people, building friendships with people, building trust with people.
That's
And there's certain people that you're just going to end up doing business with the next time around. So over time, you build up that relationship capital. Every time you create a relationship, it's like money in the bank. As long as you maintain that relationship for the right reasons. You can't maintain it for the reasons of money. You have to. It has to be. It's a mutually beneficial thing. Like you contribute something to me, I contribute something to you, and we've got something good together.
True. Let me ask you another question. When you look back on your amazing life, what are some moments that stand out for you?
Well, the first one that comes to mind is the first time I soloed in the helicopter.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I had been flying for a few months, and my instructor was a woman named Tammy Gibson. Tammy was a mom with 2 kids. She's married, and one day she was driving to work. She had nothing to do with helicopters. She saw a billboard that said, "Helicopter instructors wanted, will train." And she drove to the school and she paid some money and they trained her to become a CFI, a certified flight instructor. Took her a little over a year to do it, which is fast. That's super fast. She's very smart. She became an instructor and I was one of her first students. I might have been her first student. Tammy was younger than me, significantly younger than me. And we had been flying together for a bit. And one day she says, "Jordan, you're ready." And I said, "Ready for what?" She goes, "For you to fly the helicopter on your own." And I had gripping fear. And she said, "Land the helicopter." And I landed it. And then she gets out. And she said, "I want you to do 3 patterns, meaning lift the helicopter up, fly up, turn around, come back, talk to the tower, let the tower know what I'm doing, come in, land, do it 3 times." And I did it. It was the first time I flew the helicopter by myself. And that was an epic moment for me. Another epic moment for me was running off the mountain in a hang glider for the first time. I'd been training for 6 months, mostly on flat ground and, little elevations of 200-300 feet. And then my instructor took me up to the top of Mingus Mountain, which is at about 8,500 feet, where the landing zone is 5 miles away. And we went out to the landing zone and we walked around and, figured out what my approach would be and all that. And then we drove back up the mountain in the forest. I set up my glider. My instructor was there. He helped me launch off the mountain. That was my first solo flight off the mountain. So those are really big, big days for me, those 2 days. The other one is like, I've got a bunch. Flying on a private jet, that was a big deal. A lot of it has to do with flying for me. And then,
Yeah, being in the air.
if I had kids, I'm sure one of them would be having my first child. I don't, but and I love watching other people succeed as well. So, when I see members of my team living their dreams, those are big days, always.
Yeah,
Or
we
not
have
just,
mutual friends, and I visited them at their lake house
oh
recently.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Let me ask you about fear, because I think doing anything big always involves some level of fear. When you think about fear in your life, how did you either manage it, gotten around it, dealt with it? How has fear shown up in your life and you have conquered it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Karen. Thank you. Fear is something that everyone, I don't care if you're Elon Musk or if you've got a job at the 7-Eleven, everybody deals with fear. And usually fear is triggered by things that are out of your comfort zone. And your comfort zone is how you are used to doing things. So growth comes with stepping out of your comfort zone. And anytime you step out of your comfort zone, there's going to be a level of fear. There's nobody that's fearless. There's people that can declare themselves as fearless, but really what they're doing is they're going to step into their fear. They have the fear, they've just chosen to step into it. And you have to make your dreams bigger than your fears. So the dream has to be more important to you than your fear. And then you need to take steps to do things that are not in your comfort zone, that are uncomfortable. So, and I've trained myself to do this. Like the first time I was keenly aware of it was running off the mountain in the hang glider, where I had to, like, there's different strategies for dealing with fear. The strategy that I used in that moment was it's an NLP technique. It's a neuro linguistic programming technique. I separated my brain from my body. And I decided to lean on my skills. I'd been practicing takeoffs and landings for 6 months every weekend. So I had to do that. I had to go through those same motions, and I knew those motions automatically. But the thought of stepping off a mountain with Dacron and Kevlar strapped on your shoulders, the thought of stepping off a mountain where it's all you and you're a kite was terrifying. And it's easily paralyzing. Just like soloing in the helicopter, I could think about it, I could focus on it, I could obsess about it and get paralyzed with fear. But what I did in the moment of running off the mountain is I separated my brain from my body, and I put my body on automatic pilot. And I just said, when the conditions were right, I said, clear. They dropped to the ground and I ran off the mountain. And then once I was in the air, I was fine. I was doing it. Like, whoa, this is cool.
Those
So
are
you
what
want
I
to make
call
your
our moments. Our
you want to
moments
make
in
your
life.
dreams need to be, you need to expand your dreams and make them so exciting for you that you're willing to work through the fear. I really don't think we ever overcome fear, although I've been speaking on stages for years and I still have fear, sometimes gripping fear. If I'm going to speak in front of a group of 10,000 people and I'm not really sure what I'm going to say and how I'm going to leave them with something of value, I start questioning myself, like we all do. I focus too much on me and not on them. And I can get paralyzed by fear like if I'm going to take my biannual helicopter test, I get really fearful around that. But then I got to focus on other things. I got to shift my focus and focus on the dream. Like, why am I doing it? Like, what am I doing it for?
You've already faced some of the most terrifying things, and that was a helicopter crash. You've
Yes.
already done that. Like your worst fear already happened and you lived through it. Can you take me through that?
Well, I wouldn't even say it was a fear. I didn't ever expect to crash in a helicopter. So I wasn't afraid of that because I didn't ever expect to crash. I really didn't. And I didn't have enough time from the time that the crash, from the time that I knew we were going to crash to the time we crashed, I didn't even have time to be afraid. It happened so fast. It was a couple of seconds. It's a long story and I won't go into all the details, only to say that if you're interested in reading about it and actually seeing a video of the crash, you can go to fake helicopter on YouTube, fake helicopter pilot crashes helicopter. You can read my report, my FAA submitted report. You can read the report of the guy that was actually holding the controls when we crashed the helicopter. He was a liar. He lied to me, to his girlfriend, to his mom, to all the pilots at the airport, to the mechanics for many, many months, and in some cases, many years. Everyone believed him to be a commercial, licensed, tenured helicopter pilot that flew every week, and he had never flown in his life. And I went up with him in my helicopter that I owned, and we were hovering in a confined landing zone at the airport. And I asked if he wanted to take the controls, and he said yes. And I turned the controls over to him, had dual controls. And within a quarter of a second, the helicopter was out of control, and my tail rotor hit a 150-gallon fuel tank, and my main rotor in the air hit a fuel cart. And within seconds, we were just a heap of crushed glass, metal, and rubber in a pile with over 150 gallons of fuel all around us, and no spark. Fuel, it was raining fuel on us, and there was no spark. And they did an investigation, and it's a felony what he did. To make a long story short, I'm making this too long, but to make a long story short, I had angels around me that day, and so did he. He walked away from the crash, and they did an investigation, and they told me they did a 1-year investigation. They called me and said, we're going to be arresting him this week. And 2 days later, COVID hit, and they shut the offices down, and they were shut down for 2 years. And then when they finally opened back up, they told me there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
So
you still fly today, right?
Yeah, I got back up. It took me 4 months. I was terrified, had some PTSD. And 4 months later, I went up with an instructor who's also a friend of mine, and I did everything, and I was fine. And I flew perfectly, and I've probably flown 60 times since then. So that was a big deal, though. For those 4 months, my biggest fear was the thought of getting back in the helicopter, but I knew I needed to do it. I had a choice. I could either throw in the towel and never fly again, or I could go after my dream again and get back up in the helicopter, which was very, very, very difficult. One of the toughest things I've ever done in my life was getting back into the helicopter after the crash.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I know for me,
Yeah.
getting back on the water was a little bit difficult.
Was it after an accident?
But I kept thinking that I was going to lose the very little bit of hearing I had left.
Oh,
if I
yeah.
went back and did it again. And at one point, my hearing had gone, and it turned out to be my hearing aids were filled with water.
Oh.
So it's like, oh, okay.
Did you lose your hearing as a result of an
hearing
accident?
duffel water skiing when I was at 19.
Wow.
Barefooting, and I decided to go very fast over the lake, and I crashed.
Wow.
So
I didn't know. I never knew that.
My hearing, because I became deaf. And then I went back on the water at the age of 44 after seeing a 66-year-old woman barefooting on the Today Show.
Wow.
And so she got me back on the water.
Amazing.
Competing.
So again, there was an example. I'm sure this is in your book too, right?
It is. What I didn't write in the book is that the first time that they had me slalom, which is part of the competition, I was scared.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to approach the way because I kept thinking, well, what if I lose the very little that I have left? Because that was going through my mind.
So you could focus on that, or you could focus on your dream.
I decided to just, what? I was already in the deaf world. And I thought, if the last of it goes, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So once I got okay with that, I was able to face the fear and just go for it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. You've worked with so many people who have been successful over the years. What do you think the secret sauce is when you think of success in terms of living life on your own terms?
Yeah. Well, I've been around a lot of people that have done very well in life and in business. And then I've been around a lot of people that are constantly struggling to be happy, to be financially stable. And there are differences and most of it has to do with mindset. Most of it has to do with what they're focusing on a daily basis and consistent action. So there's a list of things that, things like your dream, your network, your drive, your daily work, your ability to bounce back when you have issues and problems, your ability to solve problems when you have issues and problems, your ability to ask for help when it's needed, your ability to lead. So there's a list of things, and all of us are not all of us, but those of us that are entrepreneurs are constantly working on, getting better at all those things. And there's always a few that we're really good at, then there's a whole bunch that we're not good at, that are constantly giving us challenges. But when I look at communication skills are another one, getting better at your communication skills, which might be like the art of persuasion and sales, but also communicating with yourself, what you're saying to yourself. Getting your mind in the right place. So like, for example, I tell a story about a hummingbird that flew into my home in Jerome, Arizona. And that hummingbird flew right over to the big picture window, and I was getting ready to leave. And I knew that if I left and shut the door, that hummingbird, when I got back, would be dead on the windowsill. So I left the door open, and I tried to get the hummingbird to go from the window to the door so he could fly to freedom. And he just wanted to go through this window, which was a guarantee of his death. But yet he could shift his focus and effortlessly fly to freedom. One direction is struggle and death. The other direction is effortless and represents freedom. That hummingbird wanted to go towards, and that's what most people do. They get so stuck doing it the way they've always done it. And it ultimately leads to them quitting or dying. And so what I like to do personally and like to teach is like teaching people to shift their focus. That's really what mindset is. It's focusing on things that are going to empower you and move you into action in the direction of your dreams. Like move you towards your dreams, which can be effortless if you're focused in the right direction. And that's what all the financial gurus, all the motivational experts out there, the business coaches, they're all trying to get you to focus on the right stuff so you can have success, because you're focused over here. That's why it's not working. You're like, oh, it's not working. It's not working. I'm focused over here, focused over here. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. And then you try doing more of it and it's still not working. It's like the hummingbird doesn't need to fly harder. It doesn't need to be a better hummingbird flyer. It doesn't need a hummingbird flying coach. It just needs to shift its focus and look towards its dream. Its dream is over here, not over here.
That is true. That's an amazing piece of advice.
Thank
And
you.
to wrap this up, we could go on another hour.
I guess we could.
To wrap it up with the last question for you. When you think about advice, living your classroom, what would you tell someone?
Like, I'd probably start asking them questions to find out what is it that they obsess about all the time. Like, what is it they think about that drives them, that gets them excited, even if they're not doing it? Like, what is it that's deep, that's lying dormant deep inside them that has always been a dream of theirs, but they've never pursued it? Let's find out what that is and let's go towards that. Let's move towards that. There's dreams that lie dormant in all of us, things that we want to experience or things that we want to do that we've never done before. And most of the time, as we get a little older, we start to just like rationalize those dreams away, or we pretend that they're not important, or we start to just diminish them instead of nurturing them, instead of bringing them to the surface, and instead of encouraging ourselves to see the potential that we have and that the opportunity that's there for us to achieve it. It's just a matter of bringing it to the surface and making it something that you decide that you're going to go after, and then just taking the steps. And I know you know this, Karen, because this is what you've done in your life. Once you've done it a couple times, then you see it's not that big of a deal. It's like you take what it is you want, and you put it out in front of you, and then you take steps to move towards it, and you make adjustments along the way. And most people, they give up on their dreams. So instead of shrinking your dreams down to meet your income, what about increasing your income to be able to fulfill your dreams? Or instead of, yeah.
That is a beautiful way to wrap this up.
Oh, good.
Maximize your dreams.
Yes.
Allow your income to fill that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this. We'll have the links to your book down below.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
I
you, Jordan.
appreciate that. Great to
Yeah.
see you again, Karen. I'm glad we got to visit for a few minutes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.